Everyone out there on YouTube, this is Chris with a company to be named later, and we are coming at you today with our first installment of knife sharpening for beginners. Today's is going to be about using sharpening stones. Stick with us. Right after we roll that intro, we're going to get into it. Alright out there guys, one of the most common uses for, I should say one of the most common ways to sharpen your knife is on what's called an Arkansas stone. And that's these guys out here. Now granted, some of them are kind of synthetic, like these, and on the other side you're going to find a bigger version of this one. But you know, you have some hard stones, you have medium stones, and you have your finishing stones. You have two ways to keep them lubricated. Water or honing oil. Now today we're primarily using the stones that are made by the Smith's company. They've been around over 100 years. I kind of think they know what they're doing by now. This one is a brand new one that's been released by the Wazoo Survival guys. It's their version of a Viking Whetstone. It's a harder stone, around 800 to about 1,000 grit, but we'll get into that in just one second. When you're using your stones, you have two ways to keep them lubricated, as I said. Water, which is very prevalent, or honing solution. Now, you've got to use one or the other constantly. You can go from water to oil, but you cannot go from oil back to water. Simple purpose behind that is once the oil basically gets into the stone and works its way in, when you try to put water on top as a lubricant, you know, oil versus water, it's going to beat up, it's going to look ugly, and you're not going to get necessarily what you need to get the job done. Your stones basically come in two different versions. What they call bench stones, as you can see, like the plastic, you know, models down here, 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 and here. Or they have some freehand ones, as I call them. I'll be honest with you, I don't like using these myself because it makes it a lot easier to slip and nick yourself. But when you're out in the field, if this is all you have, you make do. Now we're going to pause this video again so I can set some stuff up, and we're going to look at this from a different angle. So bear with us, we'll be right back. Alright guys, as you can see, we kind of did a little bit of rearranging here. For today, for this video, we're going to use the Smith's Tri-Hone sharpening system. On this system, you have three different stones. Only one of them is an Arkansas stone, the other two are synthetic. What I like about this system, they call it basically the best one out there. You have your coarse, as you can see they even have it labeled here as well. You have a medium, which is a synthetic stone. And you have a fine, which is the Arkansas stone. What I like about this setup, as you can see, it catches water when it's dripping down, or oil depending on how much you saturate your stones. Now, as I said, with the lubrication, I like to use water just because, well, I don't have a ton of money here with the business yet, and it kind of makes it hard to keep buying oil over and over and over. Now, generally, I will take this and I will soak it for about a good 10-15 minutes in water before I start to even sharpen anything. But to be honest with you, I got caught up with the shop monkeys today and kind of forgot this process. So we'll let that sink in for a moment before I re-wet it. It also comes with their sharpening angle, which is set to about 23 degrees. Neat thing about it is if you're unsure what angle to use, you lay that on the stone as such, take your knife, and you can just set it right on there, and now you have your angle. But what I like to do whenever I'm sharpening, you know, a brand new knife, is you get a Sharpie, and I'm not sure if you can see it too well, but right there is your blade edge down here. That's what we're going to be working with today. Now, I purposely took this guy and dulled it out earlier on a stone. See how it's not catching the paper at all? It should slice through that. But what we do with the Sharpie to make sure you're getting the right angle is you color your blade. I know this sounds a little crazy, but you'll see why in just a moment. Oops. Don't worry, you can clean that up afterwards. Okay, hopefully you can see that a little better. Basically, when we do this right here in a moment, all that black on the blade is going to disappear. Now, there's two different, basically, styles you can look at it doing this at. You can do the preset version of the 23 that they have, and that's where your blade is going to be until you reprofile that part to whatever degree you want. Or you can use basically the factory setting. And what we like to do is, well, actually what I got taught is lay your blade flat. You raise it up until you start feeling it snag. Right there, it's not moving. So that's the angle you want to go with. And in essence, you push it away from you and slide it down the edge of the stone. You want to use the whole width of the length of the stone. That way the wear pattern on the stones are even and you won't have to worry about flattening them later on. That's pretty much it. And you repeat the pattern. Now there's different ways that you can do this as well. But one of the primary things that I tell everybody is count your strokes. And what you do on one side, you need to do on the other side as well. That way your blade pattern wears the same. And as you can see the silver on that side where it's grinding away on the blade. And now you just come back. Find that edge and just pull it down. Now there's some people who can do this one-handed, no problem. I like to use two to help keep even pressure on the blade, and it helps control your angle. Something else I've been trying to tell lots of people, especially our oldest little shop monkey, listen to your stone. Now this is the core stone. It's supposed to be that gritty thing. If you're going through at a different angle than what you have, it's going to tell you, and you're going to hear something a lot different than what you should. One of the patterns I've been recently working on lately is small figure eights all the way down. Basically what you're hearing with that coarse grit, because it's so coarse, it's essentially tearing the metal away, but not like stripping it off like a sandblaster. Or you can even use the back and forth method. But like I said, guys, whatever you do to one side, as you can see, well, I got one side a little bit better than the other. You have to do to the other side. Yeah, it's starting to pick up an edge. And now it's cutting. One of the things I also tell people, look at your paper when you're cutting it. Now, granted, this is a little bit thicker stock paper, but you can see it seems to be going smoothly through here, and then it starts biting right through there. I also tell everyone, pick up your blade and look at it. You can see small bits of paper through there, and those are areas where you really want to pay attention to when you're going through. Guys, that's pretty much it. Well, I should say for the core stone. And that's pretty much going to be it for today's lesson. That's the very basic principle of making sure you sharpen your knife. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Listen to your stone. And I can't stress this enough. Keep the stone lubricated. It's going to help remove the metal flakes. It's going to help push them to the side. It's going to make your life a lot easier when you're pulling your blade across. And find your own method of what works for you. There is no right way, wrong way. Everybody who's got a blade has a different way to sharpen it. Everybody you talk to says, no, don't use this method. Use a different method. Seriously, that's your whole basic. Find your angle and push it away from you. Find your angle, push it away. When you're going through on the tri-hone, repeat the process on the medium until you get your blade where you want, and then you follow it up with the fine to be able to hone your blade. And when you're honing your blade, that's removing some small little micro burrs that go on there. When you're running your finger across, you should feel what's called a burr. In essence, a burr is when you're sharpening your blade and you're sharpening it on one side, you're kind of pushing this little wire edge over to the top, and you should be able to feel it when you're running your fingers across the blade. That lets you know you've got the right angle, you're going at the right stuff, and you're using the right amount of pressure. But that's it for today, guys. I know I probably missed over a whole bunch of stuff. I know I probably screwed a couple dozen things up. I know there's a lot more, how should I say, seasoned experts out there. But go ahead, leave your comments, leave your questions, leave whatever down below. If you like what you saw, go ahead, give this video a thumbs up. And, check back soon because we're going to have part 2 where we go on to oil on the stones and we go on to stropping as well. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day.